When life beats us up, sometimes we have to figure out how to do this. Starting life over after losing everything. Disclaimer right up front, you are never wrong about how you feel. Some of what I'm going to share with you in this video may suggest that you're not feeling what you should be feeling. I don't want to even go there. You're never wrong about how you feel. How you feel is 100% consistent with your current set of beliefs and perceptions, with the way your mind is processing your experience. I'm going on record saying that. Now, having said that, when you feel that you've lost everything, you haven't. The fact that you can feel suggests that you haven't lost everything. Now, you're never wrong about how you feel. Notice this. It could always be better. And it could always be worse. Is that true? Now, don't take my word for this. I want you to run it through your own filters and see if it's true. Because if that's true, then no matter how bad things seem right now, it could always be worse. Is that true? Yeah, it could always be worse. And is that true the other direction? No matter how good things seem, it could always be better. Why do I make a big deal out of that? Because it is what it is. You say you've lost everything? Really? You've lost some things. I am not denying that. You have not lost everything. Just over a decade ago, I thought I had lost everything. Not really, because my mind quickly reminded me that I hadn't lost everything. I went through a bankruptcy. Now that's losing everything, right? No, it's not. In fact, the first thing that I noticed after that happened to me, everything was still in color, which somehow surprised me. I was expecting maybe everything would turn into one of those old 20s movies, you know, where everything's black and white and people are hanging their heads and it's dust and depression everywhere. No, color. The wind is blowing, the birds are singing, children are playing in the park. Had I lost everything? No. The fact that I could still see those children playing in the park meant I hadn't lost everything. I interviewed Carol Decker. What an amazing woman. She contracted sepsis as she was having her second child. Went into the hospital, was in a coma. She came out of that coma as a triple amputee and blind. She lost everything. Or did she? Still had her daughter. 2 of them. A loving husband. The subtitle of her book, Unshattered, is Choosing a Beautiful Life. I love that because you never lose everything as long as you're still here. What if you lose your life? Well, that depends on what your beliefs are, but we can leave a legacy behind even after our life is gone. I don't think you fully lose everything anytime. I've probably emphasized that enough. Connect with that for just a moment because how you feel is driven by your perception. When you can go back to the gratitude of what you already have and what you still have, that gives you a place to start from. A good friend of mine, Chad Hymas, taught me something about this. He's an amazing, inspiring man and a world-class speaker. Chad had an accident that left him quadriplegic, meaning all 4 limbs are affected with the paralysis. While he was in the hospital, he started to get into this period of depression because of all that he had lost. And he'd lost everything, right? No. What did he still have? Chad pointed out to me that when he was focused on what he couldn't do, depression, discouragement, when he turned his mind to what can I do, that brought some hope and gave him a starting place. When we've had a significant loss, I think it's important to start focusing on what we have, not what we don't. Because that at least is useful. We can wrap our heads and our hands around that and then start from there. You have to start from somewhere. And where you are is the only practical place that you can start. So let's get good with where we are. Instead of telling ourselves that we've lost everything, let's acknowledge the loss, feel whatever we're going to feel. You're never wrong about that. And then get on track with, okay, what do I have? What can I do? What are my resources? Where can I start? And then actually start. I told you that I ended up in a bankruptcy. It was one of the darkest periods of my life, at least from a financial standpoint. I had never planned on being there. I didn't want to be there. You know me as the pathologically positive Dr. Paul on YouTube. Well, this took a hit, and it was a little hard. It was a lot hard for me to deal with that. I realized through a number of experiences that I had to start from somewhere. I looked down on the ground and I saw a dime. I reached down and I picked up that dime and I thought, well, there we go. That's what I'm going to start from. And there's a lot more to the story than that. But the point is, let's start from where we are with what we have. That's the only place we can start from anyway. This is a mind shift. It's a paradigm shift. And I know I'm not giving you a lot of practical advice about how to pick up the pieces from this broken life. I'm just saying that you can. And your amazing creative ability to do that is going to sustain you through the difficult times. There are better things to come. When Vicki and I were first married, we lived in a little basement apartment. This place was so tiny, honestly, I could touch my nose to the ceiling. In several places in that apartment, it was actually dug out by hand by the landlord, who wanted more space to rent to poor students. And that's where we lived. Well, right across the street was a historic building that I had the honor of leading tours for, as people would come to visit this historic building. We lived right across the street. I had a key to the place. And it was such an honor to be able to guide people through this historic building. Well, a few years later, that building caught fire. And the whole roof collapsed and the entire interior of the building was destroyed. The walls were still standing. The old historic sandstone walls were still there. But the building was destroyed. Or so we thought. It was a few years later that that building was renovated to become a beautiful edifice. A building that far surpasses what the original historic building was and stood for. It's beautiful. And I look at that sometimes as a symbol of what we can do with our lives. Yeah, things happen. And you know what? As a matter of fact, that fire prepared the building for the renovation that turned it into the beautiful edifice that it is now. It just reminds me that when things happen in our life, let's not be too quick to assume that this is the end, that this is the last part of the story. In fact, it may be an important step toward a really awesome upgrade. When you think you've lost everything, keep in mind that you're not done yet, and that there are some great things that are still waiting for you. Start from a place of positivity that allows you to be grateful for what you have. Start from there, and let's start building something that represents an amazing upgrade. If nothing else, I hope that gives you some hope. And if it did, would you please share this video with someone that you care about? If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. We'll be back tomorrow with some more great content.